So hi. Uh, this time you are discussing about the document understanding out of the box packages, where it would be the retrainable model. Fernando is going to explain us how to achieve that auto retrainable model using document understanding packages. So Fernando, you can start that.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. And so today also we have uh, Prabhu Teja discussing about the document understanding with us. Um, so when it comes to document understanding, the ML models, usually we look into the AI center. And in AI center under out of the box packages, we see several document related models as you see on the screen right now. And actually, most of these models are pre-trained. Invoices, purchase orders, receipts, IDs, and passport. These two are very new. So these are,
Fernando,
yeah.
sorry to disturb. Just want to know. So, what is the major difference between document understanding and the invoices which we are doing? So, basically,
Mhm. Yeah,
why?
yeah. Actually, that's a very good question.
Yeah.
So these models, the invoices, invoice Australia, invoice India, these things are actually pre-trained specifically for invoices. So
Okay.
you might also have another question like why do we have invoices and invoice Japan, India, Australia, and likewise. So this invoices model is generic for any kind of invoices. But on the other hand, these invoice models are specific to this country. Invoices in Japan mostly, or invoices in India or Australia, and likewise. But
Okay. So,
if
based on the pattern or
Mhm.
the structure, usually what the country uses, the package was built on that, right?
Yes, yeah. So if
Okay.
you do not want to stick with a particular country, you can just use the invoice model. That's
Yeah.
specific for any kind of document that you can think of.
Yeah. So, okay. So, the major difference between document understanding and invoices.
Yes, the major difference between this and these other document related models are, as I explained earlier, these models are pre-trained for this particular type of documents. But think of a scenario where you have different kind of documents. It's not an invoice, it's not a passport, it's not a receipt or a purchase order. You have some different kind of
Okay,
document
maybe
that you need to
some
process.
yeah, maybe some internal PDFs or
Yes,
budget planned PDFs, which
yeah,
would be very specific and structured for the particular company or the particular organization.
right. Yeah, so when it comes to those kind of documents, this model we can use it easily and we can train it to support your type of documents. That's why we
Okay,
have this. And the another major difference is because we don't know to for what kind of document we are using it, this model is not pre-trained. It doesn't
got
know
it, got it.
anything about any kind of document. So you
Okay,
just need to, before using it, we need to train it.
got it.
Yeah. So let's try it out. So I'm going inside this,
Okay,
and so this is the latest version of the document understanding model. So let's create and submit to create a new model. Um, you demodel, make it like this for now. So down here, it also asks for any OCR related stuff. So if you want to stick with a particular OCR, you can select it. If not, you can just say no OCR and let the workflow handle everything for you.
okay. If you select the specific OCR, it will use only that specific OCR, right? If you
Yes.
leave it, it will use as per its requirement.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
So we'll go with no OCR for now. and click on submit. So this will create a package for us. So now you can see this is still not deployed, but
Right. Right.
training enabled, and by default it recommends GPU, but as of now I'm using the trial version, so I don't have any GPU. So what GPU means is it's like
Uh,
extra processing power
mm, yeah. Okay.
because
Wrapping up the speed.
yeah, because when
Yeah.
it comes to this training data, you will over time you will get loads of documents to train.
Right.
So
Right.
it will run, sometimes it will run for days. So just to improve the processing or the training process, it's good to have GPU. Okay, so now we have created the package, and the next thing is go here to datasets, and we need to have a data set. This data set is created to store the documents that we use for training and the export after training. Those all those things will be stored in that data set.
Okay.
So let's
Okay. Got it.
create a new data set. I will just say du demo and click on create. So this is an empty data
Fine.
set. We'll use
Okay.
it later in the data labeling session. So now we have the package, we have the data set. The next thing is training it. So training is done in the data labeling session.
Okay. We will go to data manager and we will try. Right.
Yes, in data
Okay.
manager. Because
Okay.
this document model does not know anything about the documents. So we need to
Right.
go to data manager, import some documents and say from where to extract and what to extract.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So once we are in the data labeling session, you need to go to UiPath document understanding to create a new session. So say data manager. And from here, we need to select which data set we are going to use for this. So this is the one I created. Or if you have not created, you can create it from here itself. So we already have it
Okay.
and it's being deployed. Yeah, and it's available. So, so once we are here, we will get the data manager interface
Right.
where we can import and do the labeling.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah. So for this one, because I don't have any custom documents, I will just use couple of invoices for
Yeah.
us.
Sure. 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 Sure.
Yeah, but the process is the same.
The same. Same. Right.
Yeah. So I have several invoices. I think I have how many? 10 items. Oh no, 9.
Right.
I need another one. Let's try to find something. Maybe this will do. Yeah, so why I added another one is in data manager, after doing the labeling, when you do the
Okay.
export, you need to have at least 10 documents to
Okay.
continue with the training process. So that's why I added
Okay.
another one. And these 10 documents is not the same document repeating 10 times. It has to be a unique set of documents.
Yeah. Yeah. Got it.
Okay, so in data manager, these are the steps. The first thing is configure the OCR, then set up the fields and import the documents and perform the labeling. So first things
Okay.
first, so we'll do the OCR setup. You can just click on this.
Okay.
So we'll stick with the UiPath document OCR. Um, this OCR URL is the same. The key, this key we have to get it from the cloud platform. So if I go to this place again, and under licenses, over here you can find the document understanding key. So you can copy it, and I will go here and paste it. So the first thing is done. Now let's see what kind of fields that we can create. So, so let's quickly have a look at some of these documents. So let's keep it simple. I don't want to uh,
Okay.
keep the guys boring because
Mm.
labeling takes
Yeah.
time, right?
Yeah.
So
Right. Right.
we'll take a couple of fields.
Okay. Sure.
We'll take these four items from the table
Okay.
and the invoice number, invoice date. I think that's enough, right?
Uh, yeah. I think only invoice number is good because all of the specific one invoice number, total, and inline. These three would be the good one.
Okay, so invoice number, this set, the total, and maybe a address as well because it
Okay.
has this
Yeah. Yeah.
multi-line
Right.
thing.
Right.
Yeah, so we'll stick with that. Okay, so I'll keep one document open so that I can see what's there. And yeah, so these regular fields are the normal fields, not these stuff. The individual fields like the invoice number, the date, due date, address, likewise. So, and I want to show you one additional thing. So let's just imagine that we are showing invoices, but imagine that you are trying to do this for your custom document. So when you try to create these fields, it will ask for different properties. And if you're not sure whether to go ahead with that or not, I think what I'm going to show you next will be helpful. So
Okay.
in docs.uipath.com under data manager, there's a part that actually gives you some samples. So these are
Okay.
predefined schemas for the invoice model, the receipt model, and so on. But this will come in very handy for you to understand the properties. So what I just did is I just downloaded the invoice schema to show you. And in the file that gets downloaded, you get two files. Sorry. So just go to this schema JSON file. In this one, let me, yeah. So in this one, um, we need to, by looking at these things, I also will share some best practices in naming these fields. So you can see none of these fields have any capital letters and none of these fields have any spaces. The reason is to keep it simple, and that's always the best when it comes to machine learning, to have everything in simple and instead of spaces, just use a dash or an underscore. So these are the usual properties that we get. One is the name, the data type, what kind of a field this is, and can that field have multi-line? So for example, if it's an address, it can go for multiple lines.
Right.
So these are the properties that you see in general. So having that in mind, let's start to create our fields. Okay. So first
Yeah.
one is the invoice number.
Invoice number. Right.
So let me go here, click on this. and let's give a name, invoice number. Okay, so this is where we need to set different things. So invoice number can be a string or it can be a ID. So this thing also has a description, as you see, used for company names, addresses, payment terms, and so on. But over here, used for alphanumeric codes, new numbers of IDs, and likewise. So you can decide based on your document which field to go ahead with. So for now, I will just select ID for this one. You don't need to worry much about these stuff. It's post processing, first span, longest value, just keep it as it is. And these kind of values do not go multi-line. So you can keep this disabled. So this particular option, multi-page. So what this thing says is when you have a multi-page document, where can you find this particular field? And if the same value is repeated in multiple pages, which one should I pick? So this can be a possible scenario, right? So in that case, by default is the first occurrence. So when it comes to the invoice number in our case, wherever it finds the invoice number first, it will pick that. Or else you can say, if you have multiple values, you can ask or you can train it to pick the highest confidence value, wherever that thing is in that document. So these are some of the things that you can consider. So for now, I will just stick with the first occurrence and I will set the data type and I will click on save. So once the field is created, what you see over here is actually the hotkey to access that field. So we'll talk about that later. So we have the first field. The next one is the invoice. Next one is what? The address, right?
Address, right?
Okay. So I'll just save from address for now. So you can click on plus on address. And this can be a string and it will also go for multi-line. This time we are enabling that and click on save. And lastly, the total. So these things can also be found here. So in case you have address kind of things that span across multiple lines, you can just quickly refer to one of these JSON files to see what kind of properties that you usually need to use. As you see, address multi-line is true. Likewise. And for numeric stuff, you can also refer what kind of things that it usually recommends to use, right? Yeah. So you can say total. Again, maybe you can enable multi-line if needed. And yeah, I think that's good. And instead of string, this is a number and save. Okay, so regular fields are ready. On the other side, now what we need to do is we need to create the table values. So let's start with the quantity. And again, now if you may wonder what kind of properties we need to have for a table, let's have a look. So this time we are going ahead with column fields. Let's say quantity, and this is a number, as we know. Okay, so this time we have a couple of additional things. Split items. So what is split items? So in a table, how are we going to separate these things? So you can see the description. Use field as a delimiter between line items or rows in a table. So, do we need to use this? Let's have a look. So, in this
Yeah.
sample, you can
Yeah.
easily find one of these things. Yeah, see, quantity, split values is set to true. So,
Right.
why we are setting it to true is because it's a field coming in from a table and we can use it to separate the data, use it as a delimiter. So we can enable that and just click on save. We have the first one. Let's do the same for the remaining things. Column fields. What's the next one? Description. And okay, this is a string. Yeah, the next one is when it comes to tables and when it comes to multiple lines, what to do. So let's see. Where can I find the description? Yeah, it's here. So in here, there's no such property as multi-line. It's just type string. Yeah. So now the tricky thing is, if you use a delimiter here, when it comes to multi-line, it might cause a bit of problems. So we are not going to say this is going to be a split item because this thing has a separate property, right? Because it might need to go into multiple lines. And if you see here,
Right.
use field as a delimiter between line items or rows. So multiple line means if you enable this, it might consider that as a separate row. So
Okay.
that's why we
It
are
has
not,
multiple.
yes, that's why we are not enabling that. And let's add one more item. Let's say unit price. Unit price. And this is a number. You can say it's a split item and save. Yeah, so I'll stick with 3 items for now, just for our demo purpose. Yeah, so now we have the fields defined, columns and the usual fields. Next one is getting the documents into the data manager. Yeah. So how to do that is actually by clicking on this import. So once you click on that, you get this screen and you just need to give some name. I'll just say batch one. Yeah. So there's one additional property here. Enable large documents. So the description says remove number of pages limitation. Very large documents might not work. Yeah. So since we are not going into large documents, we can just keep it disabled. So basically what happens is if you have a large set of documents that you need to use for training, you may need to enable this. But still, very large documents might not work. So
Okay. Okay. Large documents in the sense a large batch or the multiple pages spanned documents.
it's like multiple page documents,
Okay.
not the batch size. Batch size can have any number of documents, but this is specifically for a specific document considered in the page numbers.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll give a name and let's try to find my set of documents over here. Um, you can either drag and drop or you can go here and select the documents. Yeah. So it's saying it has 12 files, 11 pages. Yeah, and out of that, sorry, 10 PDF files. So we are good, and I'll just say yes. So what happens now is based on the OCR that we gave, it will start reading the document and identify what what is there in the pages and process it so that we can continue with the labeling once it's done. You can see it's happening for all the documents. Yeah, and it's done. So here now you can see this text in the documents. These are highlighted in gray color. This highlight means that it was able to recognize these this data. So now what we need
Okay.
to do is we just need to highlight and assign the things to our fields over here. So we have 10 documents because this is the first time. So let's try to do it without uh, making you guys bored. Yeah, so we'll start with the
Yeah.
invoice number. So it's here. So all you need to do is just highlight, and it's getting highlighted like this. And to assign it to a field, use this hotkey. So for invoice number, it's I. As soon as you press it, it gets assigned with a color and also the value is updated. Same for the address. So I'll go ahead like this. So here it's multi-line. No worries, just highlight everything and press the hotkey. You can see everything is captured. The
Yeah.
total.
Right.
Total is right here. Right. Now, when it comes to columns in a table, here following that is not enough. We need to do something additional. We need to say what is the row. So we have three items, right? So all these three items has to be in the same row. So first thing is we need to um, show the row. So in our case, you can see the
Right.
description spans across multiple lines, all three lines. So the first thing is we'll highlight the first row like this, and then you need to press the slash key. The slash key next to your shift button on the right hand side, not the one above the enter.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
So once you press on that, you can see it's highlighting in green color. So this means this is a row. Now, in this row, where can I find the quantity? So that's right over here. So just click on it and press the shortcut key. Now you can see three over here. Now the description, highlight that part, and you can see that's added to the same line. If you do not do this grouping, it will add this next item to a different line. That's how it works. And then the unit price, U. So we need to follow the same thing for all the lines. So let's quickly do that. This is for D, and you can see it's getting added to the second line. Q, U. So the first document is done. And the next thing to make sure is in the initial training, make sure you provide values to all the fields or at least for 10 documents.
Okay. Okay, 10 is the minimum one.
Yes, 10 is the minimum. So let's quickly do for the remaining stuff. I'll just proceed. Um, I These documents are pretty easy. So again, it's the same pattern. You need to group and then assign. This is quantity, description, unit price. So for now, I will not do for everything, right? Because you get the idea. So I'll just keep it as it is. And this is the address. You may ask why you are not adding the name for the address. Usually having the name as a separate field is the best. That's why I'm not adding it. So here also it's the same. Group it, add it.
Okay.
So I'm skipping some of the stuff, but it's the same pattern.
Yeah, I got it. Got it.
You can assign in any order. You don't need to really start with the first one. You can start with description and then go to quantity and then do the unit price. That's okay.
Okay. Okay.
Then the next, here is the invoice number. The total is here. Okay. Um, so usually this can be done for a smaller number of documents as the initial training. Um,
Okay.
and then going forward, you can do the training while the process runs. So
Okay.
it will
The
be
data set created when the process is running, then we can use that data set to train.
yeah.
Okay.
Only thing is for the first one, we need to do all these things because otherwise the model will not know. And after a couple of training runs, we can feed more
Just correct
data.
it.
Yeah, feed
Yeah.
more
Most of the
data.
time it would be the in the correct way, but sometimes maybe it differs. Then at that time we need to correct that
Yeah,
and retrain that.
yeah. It will take couple of runs, not
Okay.
really couple, but it will take some several training runs to get a better result, depending on the number of documents you are feeding it with, and and the quality of the documents and everything. Yes, I and the total. Yeah, this is D. Last three documents. Okay, so this is interesting one. um, where is the invoice number? It's here. From date. Yeah, let's take this one. So here you can see I cannot directly add everything. because if I highlight like this, some of the unwanted stuff will also get selected.
Right.
So in that case, what you can do is just highlight, and while pressing the control, click on the things that you do not need,
Okay.
and that gives you the address
Okay.
like that. This is the total. Um, this is my description entity. I'll take this as unit price. Invoice number, and yeah, this is the last one.
Yeah.
I okay, so we are done with the labeling. So once you do that, the next step is just export it. So once you click on export, you get couple of options. First is you need to give a name,
Okay.
and here we have additional property. This is new, that came in as a part of the newest version.
Okay.
Backward compatible export, that means apply legacy export behavior, which is to export each page as a separate document. Try this if the model trained using default export is below expectations. Yeah, so the earlier versions, what they did is when you had multiple pages, those things got exported as separate
Okay.
documents.
Okay.
So either you can go ahead with that, or you can just keep it disabled and use the latest version.
Okay.
And the next thing is scheduling. So if you wonder that whether you need to do this each and every time, no. So once you schedule, it has the capability to look into the data set we created earlier for new
Okay.
files. New files are added to that data set through the workflow.
Okay.
Yeah, so once you schedule, it can run at a specific time, look for new documents.
Okay. So when we run the workflow, so automatically data set will be created. When
Yeah,
we give the scheduling here, it will use the data set to retrain, right?
yes, it will use the data
Okay.
set, the new data set, along with your old data set.
Oh, great.
Yeah,
Great. Okay.
so over time, you will have a large data set. Let's say you
Right.
are doing this training this week, and over the next week, you processed about 1,000 other documents. And next weekend, you have the schedule and it's running. So what it will do is it will consider your data set that you had today and the new data set that got processed over the next few days, and use that entire chunk as the training data to train the model.
Oh,
So
great.
over
Great.
time, you will have a huge number of documents to actually train.
Okay.
Yeah, so you just need to enable and configure as you need. So for now, I don't need that. So I'll just give it a name. And again here, no capital, no space. Uh, and if you want any logs, those things will be shown here. and just click on export. So
Okay.
this button starts flashing. And if you go to AI Center under data sets, this is our data set. So you can see we did not have these things earlier, but now we have a couple of folders. The initial export, the name I gave, and inside that you have the schema JSON. So this
Right.
schema JSON is the one that we just created for our model.
Okay.
So for the pre-trained models, we can
The
get the
schema will
schema.
be
Yeah.
there.
So now we created the schema for our own model.
Okay.
So now if someone wants to look at the schema, you can just download it and share it with them. Yeah. Okay. So you have done the export. It stopped flashing. That means the export is done. So the next thing is go to pipelines. This is where do we do the initial training.
Yeah.
So you can click on new,
Okay.
and for now you don't need the full pipeline. Full pipeline means training and evaluation both. So for now we
Okay.
don't have any evaluation data.
Okay.
So we can just go ahead with training, and this is our package
Yeah.
and the major version, the lowest version. Where is our data? It's
Okay.
in this data set. You can
Okay.
select that. And now, do you want to have auto retraining?
Okay.
So see how things are connecting now. From the workflow, you can update the data set whenever the
Okay.
process runs. So that data
Okay.
set will anyway automatically get updated. And
Okay.
from the data manager, you can schedule the export. So
Okay.
once you schedule the export, what happens is it will get that data from the data set into the data
And it
manager, and it will
right.
create the export or
Okay.
the data needed for the training automatically. So no one needs to have a look at data manager, how things are labeled. It's only for quality purpose. If someone has to be there just to make sure things are okay, but you don't need to sit and do the labeling because labeling is done through the workflow itself.
Right. Right.
Yeah, because either the machine learning model will do the labeling because it has the capability to automatically identify if something was is wrong. User may also do the corrections. So that's the data we feed it into the training.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Got it.
And so only thing the guy needs to do is just ensure everything is perfect.
In the place or not.
Yeah. Yeah. So that export will handle that. And this auto retraining, if this is enabled, what will happen is this pipeline will get trained. See, the description is here. Enable this option when the pipeline you are creating is a scheduled automatic pipeline. So once you set this to enable, you can decide how you want to run it. Whether it's a recurring thing, and schedule it. So you can see the export is scheduled, pipeline is also scheduled. You get the data from the workflow, and things are running very smoothly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
So for now, I'll just keep it false and I'll just run it now. Yeah. So this will take some time because I don't have GPU and will take, I don't know, maybe sometimes half an hour, sometimes 1 hour, depending on the. Yeah. But the concept is the same. So once this is done, you can go to ML skills and create your new skill based on the new version. New version will look like 11.1. Yeah. So that's how we do it.
So the next process would be the same as invoices for what we've done there for invoices, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the major thing here is when it comes to yeah, hold on. When it comes to this document understanding, the generic model we see here, the one we did over here on data manager is the important thing. The rest
Right, right.
is always the
The
same
same.
for all the models.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, because this is where we say that in our model, these are the fields we need, and these are some of the sample documents that we get. And from those sample documents, this is where we can find those data we need to extract.
Oh, great, great.
Yeah,
Okay. You can place your playlist of that invoices so that people can check out that for the workflow to build the auto retrainable workflow.
yeah, yeah. So there's a nice playlist
Yeah,
for
right.
auto retraining capabilities in the channel. So I'll add a card over here so people can have a look.
Yeah. So okay, then I got that, some idea about this. So basically, this can apply throughout any document or the customized document as per our requirement.
Yeah. So it can be
Uh,
applied to any kind of document, but there is kind of a limitation. So I have to say that as well. Because see this, the structure wise, it looks for regular fields and for a table. So if you have multiple tables, things might be a little bit tricky
okay,
because here we see only one table, but
right,
still
right.
you can do some workarounds here to get those things working.
Okay,
Yeah, but I think those things will be addressed in future versions. I don't know. I'm just
right,
guessing.
right. Got it. So if the PDF spans multiple pages, also the same process, right?
Yes. So remember, when we clicked or created these fields,
Okay,
when the PDF spans to multiple pages, that's why this the properties are for. So let's say the invoice number. Let's assume this PDF has multiple pages, and this invoice number is repeated in 2 or 3 pages.
okay. Let us assume in this way that we have some 20 documents. In the 20 documents, not all are spanned in the multiple pages. Few are spanned in the multiple pages, and some are in single pages. So in that way, what we need to select?
Yeah,
Let
so
us take
that's
invoice was there in the second page for some of the what is it? Some of the PDFs.
hmm, yeah,
So what is we need to select?
yeah. So in that case, let's have a look at these things. So by default, it is saying the first occurrence. So in our case, if we have the invoice number in 2 pages, first page and the second page, if you select first occurrence, it will take the one in the first page.
Okay,
But if you go for last occurrence, it will take the one in the last page.
okay,
Last page, I mean, it's not the last page of the document, wherever it is lastly mentioned.
okay, okay. Got it, got it.
And if you go for highest confidence, let's say
Okay,
in our case, the invoice number in the first page gave like 70% confidence,
okay,
and invoice number in the second page gave 90% confidence. It will take the
okay.
second one.
Got it, got it. Okay,
And sometimes it may depend on the string length. Longer string, shorter string. So these things are
got
also
it,
there.
got it,
Yeah.
got it.
You can configure those things depending on your
Now,
document.
our requirement.
Yeah. So that's how
The
you
next,
use the generic
yeah,
model.
yeah. This generic model. So, in case, okay, okay. Once the data set was created, means in the sense, the data was in the correct format only, right?
Yeah.
If you give the we should keep the feed the data set after the validation step, right?
Yes.
Same who we have in that
Yeah.
invoices workflow.
Yeah. Because why we do that is sometimes, so in our case, look at this particular model. This model is very new. It is trained
Right,
only for 10 documents.
right.
So when
It
we
may give the
feed,
errors.
yeah, when we feed a different kind of documents that it has never seen before, it may capture, it may not capture. We don't know.
Right,
So do we need to train the model with uh, wrong data? No, right? So it
wrong.
always has to be after the validation. The
Right,
validation can be done in two different ways: the automatic validation and manual verification. Automatic
right.
is done
If more than
based on,
90%
yes, you can
confidence.
configure, you can write your own logic how you want to validate.
Yeah, yeah. We have this logic in our document understanding series also, right?
Yeah, yeah, that is explained there.
Yeah, you can place that link also in the description.
Yeah, and
Uh,
the manual verification can be attended, unattended using
yeah, use your action
Center.
center or
Yeah,
yeah, anything.
yeah,
Got it. So basically, if you are using an action center, then uh, after the validation step, that should be in the orchestration process, right?
yes, that has to be in the orchestration process.
The part after the validation should be in the orchestration process.
Well, it's like this. So the concept of the orchestration process. So we did that the other day, right?
Yeah, right, right,
Um, if you remember, you have to get the data from a different source. You're not doing
right,
any UI automation.
right, right,
So you have to have the source data ready. And once you get that data, you do the initial checks and pass it for verification. And when you are done with the verification, the latter part, the post processing part, there you can do the training and you can do everything else. So feeding the data into the training process, like updating that data set in our case, can be done in that part after the validation.
oh yeah, good. Yeah, right,
So validation is also done after uh, doing the manual or automatic check, and
right,
training
right,
happens after that.
right, right. You're right. Okay, cool. So basically, we covered this also today.
Yeah,
Yeah, fine then, Fernando. I cleared my doubts. So I think the other rest of the things were covered in our other series which we have. This is what we left, and I think this was a good session we have.
yeah,
So thank you, Fernando. That was a great session for
yeah.
everything.
Thank you very much
Yeah,
for this, and I hope everyone got something new to learn.
yeah,
And yeah,
right.
we'll see you guys in another video.
Bye bye.
Have a nice day.